You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. These are your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Saturday, May the 2nd, 2020. Starting in the American League, the Boston Red Sox continue their winning ways. They beat the Texas Rangers in this one by a final score of 4-1. Each team scored in the 7th inning. The Red Sox just happened to put up a 4 spot as compared to the Rangers 1. Brian Johnson got the win out of the bullpen. Rafael Montero got the loss. And Brandon Workman now has 9 saves on the season. One of our games of the day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network featured an AL East matchup between the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Yankees won by 6 runs in this one. Jordan Montgomery got the win, Tanner Roark got the loss, and Adam Ottavino earned a save. The Yankees had 3 home runs in the win. Our other game of the day here on Major League Baseball's virtual network featured the Baltimore Orioles and the Chicago White Sox. The final score of this game was 9-5. The Orioles keeping pace with the Yankees toward the top of the AL East. You'll see that in standings later. Hunter Harvey got the win, Jimmy Cordero got the loss, and Miguel Castro now with 2 saves on the season. The Minnesota Twins beat the Los Angeles Angels by a score of 8-2. Kenta Maeda is still undefeated. He's 4-0 now on the season. And Andrew Heaney now 0-4, the exact opposite of Maeda. AL Central Baseball that featured the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals. And the Royals cannot get off the schneid. Their losing streak extends, and you'll see how big it is when we go to the standings update. But the Tigers won 5-2, scored all 5 of their runs in the first inning. Daniel Norris got the win, Jake Junis got the loss, and Joe Jimenez now with 9 saves on the season. Interleague play between the Cleveland Indians and the San Francisco Giants. The Indians won by 1 run. 12-11 was the final score, and the winning run was scored right in the bottom of the 8th inning. Brad Hand now has 14 saves on the season with the Indians. The Tampa Bay Rays played the Oakland Athletics, and the Athletics won by a final score of 8-5. Daniel Mengden got the win. Yanni Chirinos got the loss. He's yet to have a win this season, and Liam Hendricks now has 11 saves. AL West baseball between the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners saw the Astros shut out the Mariners. Final score of this one was 5-0. Urquidy got the win. He's now 3-4, and Ryan Presley with 2 saves on the season. The Pirates and Marlins played each other, and the Marlins won this one by a score of 10-5. Pablo Lopez got the win, and Trevor Williams got the loss. The Colorado Rockies played the Philadelphia Phillies. Final score of this game was 3-1. It was close, but the Rockies edged out the Phillies. German Marquez got the win. Jake Arrieta just with 1 win on the season. He has 4 losses now, and Wade Davis on a bit of a save streak. He has 5 now on the season. NL East baseball that featured the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets. Final score of this game, Braves 9, Mets 3. Felix Hernandez got the win, and Steven Matz got the loss. They each are 1-3 now in their decisions this year. The Cincinnati Reds beat the Washington Nationals. Final score of this game was 7-6. The Nationals were making a comeback in the bottom of the 9th inning, but they could not complete it. They fell short a run. Sonny Gray got the win. He's now 2-1. Max Scherzer is now 3-2. And Raisel Iglesias now has 5 saves on the season. NL Central baseball that featured the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. The final score of this game was 12-4. The Brewers put up a couple crooked numbers in this one. 3 runs in the bottom of the 5th and 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning. Brett Anderson got the win, and Adam Wainwright now with 4 losses on the year. The Chicago Cubs beat the Arizona Diamondbacks by a score of 4-1. The Diamondbacks put up their only run in the first inning. The Cubs scored a couple runs in 2 different innings. 2 runs in the 2nd, 2 runs in the 5th. Jose Quintana now 2-3 on the year. Mike Leake without a win so far this season, and Craig Kimbrell now has 12 saves. He's one of the top save leaders in the National League. And this NL West battle between the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers continues. The final score of this game was 7-6, and the Padres won. That evens the series up at 1 game apiece heading into Game 3 tomorrow. And this game was nearly as tight as yesterday's. The Padres found a way to come back and win it in the bottom of the 11th inning. Guerra got the win, and Baez got the loss. Let's take a look at standings now, starting in the American League East. The New York Yankees beat the Blue Jays today, and they're still a half game above the Baltimore Orioles. And the Orioles, who also won today, keeping pace with the Yankees for first place in the AL East. The Tampa Bay Rays are on a 3-game losing streak now. They're 19-16, 2.5 games back in the division. The Toronto Blue Jays are 15-18. They've lost 2 straight now. They're in 4th place. And the Boston Red Sox on a 2-game winning streak now, 13-22, 8.5 games back in the AL East. In the AL Central, the Chicago White Sox are 21-12. They still lead this division, though they lost today. The Minnesota Twins are 19-14. They're 2 games back of the division. The Cleveland Indians are 19-16 on a 2-game winning streak. They're 3 games back of the division. The Detroit Tigers have found themselves on a hot stretch. They've got a 5-game winning streak going. They're 11-22, still 10 games back of the division. And the Kansas City Royals cannot find a way to win that 10th game yet. They are on a 14-game losing streak. They're 9-24, 12 games back of this division. In the American League West, the Oakland Athletics are 20-15. They lead this division, and they're on a 4-game winning streak. The Houston Astros won today. They're 17-16, 2 games back of the division. The Texas Rangers are on a 3-game losing streak. They're 14-18, 4.5 games back, as are the Angels. Same record, same amount of games back. And the Seattle Mariners are 15-20. They're 5 games back of the AL West. Moving on to the National League. In the National League East, the Washington Nationals lost today. They're 21-11 now. The Marlins, who beat the Pirates today, are 19-14, and they move a game up on the Nationals. They're 2.5 games back in the division now. The Atlanta Braves are 17-18. They're 5.5 games back. The Phillies are 16-17, also 5.5 games back. And the New York Mets are 13-20 after losing today. They are 8.5 games back now of the NL East. In the National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers found a way to win, and they broke their losing streak. They're now 18-15. They still lead this division. The Chicago Cubs right on their tail, though, a half game back of the Cubs with an 18-16 record. The Cubs are also on a 2-game winning streak. The St. Louis Cardinals are 17-17. They lost today. They're 1.5 games back of the division. The Cincinnati Reds are 13-19, 4.5 games back after beating the Nationals today. And the Pittsburgh Pirates are 13-20. They lost to the Marlins today, and they're back to last place in this division, 5 games back of the division lead. And in the National League West, the San Diego Padres won today, and they take the top spot back in the NL West, but it's not quite over yet. This battle will take a while to create some separation. These two split the series between them right now, the Dodgers and the Padres. The Dodgers, in losing today, move now a half game back of the division lead. The Giants are 5 games back of the division. They are 17-16 on a 2-game losing streak. The Diamondbacks also on a 2-game losing streak. They're 15-18, 7 games back of the division. And the Rockies, still suffering from that slow start to April that they had. They're still 9 games back. 12-19 is their record despite winning today. Let's take a look at league leaders now, and we will start with batting average leaders in the American League. Jose Abreu still leads this category. He has a .390 batting average. DJ LeMahieu has a .384 batting average, second best, and Chris Davis still third best with a .382 batting average. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still leads this category, but he's under a .380 average now. He has a .376 batting average. Jonathan Villar with a .364, and David Dahl, the Colorado Rocky that's still on the injured list, has a .363. Hits leaders among American League players, Jose Abreu has 55, DJ LeMahieu has 53, and Chris Davis rounds out the top 3. He has 52, and he's also the only other American League player with more than 50 hits this season. In the National League, Jonathan Villar, the only player with over 50 hits. Ronald Acuna Jr. in second with 47, and Paul Goldschmidt third best with 46. At bat leaders in the American League, J.D. Martinez still leading this category. He has 144. In the National League, Jonathan Villar and Ozzie Albies at the top. They each have 140 at-bats this season. Doubles leaders in the American League, Jose Iglesias takes this back. He is the leader now with 14 doubles. Anthony Rendon, Miguel Andujar, and Jose Abreu are each tied with 13 now. That's good for second best in the league. And Rafael Devers has 12. That's good for fifth best. In the National League, Jonathan Villar has 17 doubles, and he leads all National League players. Christian Yelich in sole possession now of second place. He has 13 doubles. Ketel Marte and Trey Turner each tied for third best with 12. Triples leaders in the American League, Jose Altuve has 4. Oscar Mercado and Whit Merrifield are each tied for second best with 3. In the National League, Jonathan Villar still leading this category. He has 4 triples on the season. Trey Turner, Asdrubal Cabrera, Hunter Pence, Andrew McCutchen, and Chris Bryant all tied for second best. They have 3. Home runs leaders in the American League, Chris Davis still tops this list. He has 18 home runs. His teammate Matt Olson is second best with 13. And Austin Meadows and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. tied for third best in the American League with 12. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 13 home runs. Paul Goldschmidt and Max Muncy each have 12. And Corey Seager, the only other National League player in double digits for home runs, he has 10. RBI leaders in the American League, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Chris Davis each tied for the lead with 37. Jose Abreu has 35. He rounds out the top 3. In the National League, Paul Goldschmidt, the only NL player with over 30 RBIs on the season. Cody Bellinger has 27, and then Christian Yelich, Nolan Arenado, and Corey Seager each tied for third best. They each have 26. Runs leaders in the American League, Chris Davis passes Jose Abreu on this list. Davis now the runs scored leader in the American League. He has 31. Jose Abreu has 30, and his teammate Yohan Moncada on the brink of 30. He has 29. That's good enough for third best in the American League this year. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 32 runs scored this season, the only one in the National League with over 30. Trey Turner and Paul Goldschmidt each tied for second best with 27. Stolen base leaders in the American League, this lead still belongs to Adalberto Mondesi. He has 9 stolen bases on the year. Mike Trout and Malik Smith each tied for second best with 7. In the National League, Starling Marte still leading this category with 12. Trey Turner in double digits with 10, and Ronald Acuna Jr. third best in the league with 9. Walk leaders in the American League, Mike Trout and Robbie Grossman now top this list. They each have 22. Alex Bregman, Shin-Soo Choo, Giancarlo Stanton, and Yordan Alvarez each tied for third best with 21. In the National League, Rhys Hoskins still leading this category. He has 25, and he's still trailed by Daniel Descalso, who has 23. And rounding out the top 3, Justin Turner has 22. On-base percentage leaders in the American League, Mike Trout with a .470 on-base percentage. That's the best in the American League. DJ LeMahieu, .453, and Chris Davis with a .444. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has had his on-base percentage fall recently, but he still leads this category, .455 on-base percentage. He's trailed by Daniel Descalso, who has a .440 on-base percentage, and Paul Goldschmidt with a .435. Slugging percentage leaders in the American League, Chris Davis, the only American League player above 800. He has an .838 slugging percentage. Mike Trout with a .757, and Jose Abreu rounds out the top 3 and is the last player in the American League with an over .700 slugging percentage. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. right on 800. Christian Yelich has a .741 slugging percentage, and Paul Goldschmidt with a .729. The only other player with over .700 is Corey Seager. He has a .702. That's good enough for fourth best in the National League. On-base percentage plus slugging percentage leaders in the American League. Chris Davis leading this category. He and Mike Trout have been toward the top so far this season, and DJ LeMahieu rounds out the top 3. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. still leading this category, trailed by Christian Yelich and Paul Goldschmidt. Moving on to pitcher statistics. Wins leaders. There are 3 pitchers who have 5 wins on the season now. Asher Wojciechowski has 5, as does Jalen Beeks and Lucas Giolito. In the National League, Pablo Lopez, Dinelson Lamet, and Walker Buehler all each tied for the top spot in wins in the National League. They each have 5. Losses leaders, or lack of losses for that matter. There are still a significant amount of pitchers who are undefeated this season on the mound. Those are pitchers that have no losing decisions. Dylan Bundy, Tyler Glasnow, Chris Bassett, Asher Wojciechowski, Reynaldo Lopez, Mike Minor, Kenta Maeda. Those are the ones that don't have any losses yet on the season. In the National League, there are 5 pitchers that don't have any losses yet this year. They include Trevor Bauer, Caleb Smith, Walker Buehler, Kevin Gausman, and Dinelson Lamet. Saves leaders in the American League, Brad Hand continues to stay hot. He has 14 saves. That leads not only the American League, but all of baseball. Michael Givens, Liam Hendriks, and Nick Anderson each tied for second best. They all have 11 saves, and Matt McGill of the Mariners at 10, the only other pitcher in the American League with double-digit save totals. In the National League, Josh Hader, Craig Kimbrell, and Sean Doolittle sharing the top spot. They each have 12 saves. Giovanni Gallegos, Kenley Jansen, and Kirby Yates all tied for fourth best with 11, and the only other pitchers that have double-digit saves this season so far. ERA leaders, Tyler Glasnow, the lowest ERA in the American League. He has a 1.96 earned run average. In the National League, Trevor Bauer, Walker Buehler, Mike Soroka, and Caleb Smith all have an ERA under 2. Home runs allowed, or least amount of home runs allowed on the season. Frankie Montas, Gio Gonzalez, Brandon Bailey, and John Means each tied for the top spot. They have 2. In the National League, Caleb Smith, Trevor Bauer, and Garrett Richards, the only ones left who have given up only 1 home run so far this season. Shutouts among American League pitchers, Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka still lead this list. Every other pitcher on the list has 1. In the National League, it's still Zach Wheeler and Walker Buehler who are on top. Pablo Lopez, David Price, and Jacob deGrom each have 1. Strikeout leaders in the American League, Lucas Giolito has caught Garrett Cole. These two tied for the league best, 57 strikeouts this season. And Carlos Carrasco and Charlie Morton each tied for the third best spot. They each have 52, and Jake Odorizzi, the only other American League pitcher with 50 or more strikeouts so far this season. In the National League, Chris Archer still leads this category. He has 62. Clayton Kershaw has 61, and Max Scherzer rounds out the top 3. He has 56. Complete games. The most complete games in the American League among pitchers, Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka still top this list. In the National League, it still belongs to Walker Buehler and Zach Wheeler. Innings pitched leaders, Garrett Cole, the most amount of innings pitched in the American League with 48. In the National League, Johnny Cueto, the most innings pitched in all of baseball. He has 50 2/3 innings under his belt so far this season. Walks allowed, Carlos Carrasco still leads this category. He's only allowed 5 walks this season. In the National League, Madison Bumgarner adding to his total, but he's only walked 4 this season. The next best is Chris Paddock, who's walked 8. Whip leaders, Carlos Carrasco and Zach Plesac, the only pitchers in the American League with an under 1 whip. In the National League, Mike Soroka, Walker Buehler, and Pablo Lopez all have an under 1 whip. Pitching war, Charlie Morton still leads this category. He has a 1.3 wins above replacement total. Carlos Carrasco and Garrett Cole are right behind him, and they round out the top 3. In the National League, Chris Archer still leading this category with a 1.5 WAR. Walker Buehler, Caleb Smith, and Yu Darvish, and Steven Strasburg close behind him with a 1.3. Batting wins above replacement in the American League. Mike Trout, DJ LeMahieu, and Chris Davis top this category. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. is still the only player in all of baseball with an over 3 wins above replacement total. Jonathan Villar and Christian Yelich round out the top 3 in the National League. Villar 2.5, Yelich 2.4. These have been your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Saturday, May the 2nd, 2020. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.